Hey, Jay here. We're out here today with a 2022 YZ250 two-stroke. Brand new bike for 22. They updated it finally, which is really cool. And so I brought out our 21 YZ250F, four-stroke. Of course, everybody doesn't know. And we're going to kind of talk about the pros and cons and some of the differences in these bikes and what we noticed riding here at Glen Helen today. Okay, so first of all, I used to ride two-strokes for a large part of my 20s and 30s. Rode Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki two-strokes, 250s. That's all I rode through that whole time frame. And then about 2006, 7 in there, started shifting towards riding a 250F more and rode a 450 a bit until I got hurt a few times, and then just stayed to 250Fs. And I've been riding 250Fs on the track ever since then, and really haven't been riding any two-strokes on the track since 2005, 6 in that range. And when I have ridden them on the track, I felt like they're kind of difficult to ride compared to a four-stroke. They're a lot twitchier and harder to ride and harder to handle. So that's been one of the deterring factors for me. And then also with the four-strokes, have been so much advances, and the bikes just kind of get the latest technology. Well, so on this new Yamaha YZ250, there's not drastic changes to the lower end of the bike, but they did a lot of chassis changes. It has a new look, which is really nice. Now it looks a lot more similar to the four-strokes, and actually in a lot of ways looks better than their current four-strokes styling-wise. Also now you have a black tank that's covered up, so you won't have to worry about getting a tank to change your color of your bike. If you want to get white plastic or whatever it be, your tank's going to be black and should stay fairly decent. So which is really cool in the styling part of it. Guys have asked if they can get all this 22 stuff and put it on their 2010 YZ250, and the answer is yes, but it would be very costly to do it because you need a tank, subframe, airbox, seat. We think maybe silencer. And then, of course, the plastic to make all that happen. So it could be $1,000 to $1,200 deal to make that happen. So you might be better off just selling your older bike, putting that money then towards a new one if you want the new styling bike. So that's one of the common questions we've got. So as far as the two-stroke, like I said, one of the things that's kept me from riding them has been that kind of twitchy power. One of the interesting things on this new bike is they've made the bottom actually a little bit smoother and easier to ride. And we think, when I talk to the Yamaha technicians, they feel like that's partly because of the way the air comes in behind the seat, right below the back of the seat back there. The air comes in there, and it kind of makes it a woo woo at the bottom. So it has a lot better sound coming off the bottom, kind of a deeper sound to it, and it feels really good pulling right off the bottom, and it's smoother, easier to ride power. So when I was on my way here today, and of course brought our 21 four-stroke, which I rode that first, and of course I was like totally at home on the four-stroke, feeling like there's no way that the two-stroke can even be close. And I was really surprised at how well the two-stroke did, and the track was fairly rough. Got out there a little later, it was cloudy, and it had a lot of good bumps everywhere. I think the suspension on my 250F is dialed in since it's been done by Race Tech, so not comparing apples to apples there. So I feel like the four-stroke is definitely easier to ride. It doesn't take as much, say, skill or effort. It's easier to. You see, you just heard one right there. That's what they can do. So with the four-stroke, it is easier to ride and easier if you make mistakes and so forth. When I'm on the two-stroke, one of the things I notice that I do straight away is short shift. So I ride it a little bit high. You can even hear it in some of the videos of me riding. I'm kind of short shifting that thing. You can just feel it working its way through. So I feel more comfortable in that area. And actually, I found myself hitting fifth gear a couple times on this bike, where the stock sprocket, I might go down one size if I were to ride it some more on the track. Take away even a little bit more bottom, so it's really smooth and will pull even a little further. As far as riding both these bikes and who's best at these things, I think the price difference on these bikes is about $1,000. I need to double check that, but and I could be wrong on that. They could be very similar. But as far as the actual operating cost, long term, most of us know that long term, if you plan on keeping the bike a long time, that having a two-stroke like this YZ250, that's a pretty good proven package, can be cheaper to maintain. You know, you don't have any valves, you know, cam chain, all that stuff to go out and maintain and change. So that's a big advantage of the two-stroke. So surprisingly, there's not a lot of internal engine updates. I thought that they had actually changed the porting, changed some stuff, but really the engine's basically the same engine. There's no big updates to the engine. It's really the intake of the engine. Carburetor's the same, and that's really where the increase comes from. It's hard to believe, but that's really what they got it. And I know Jamie dynoed this thing, and it really does have a significant power increase just with that. So that's pretty impressive. So I guess with this cooler looking styling and changing the air intake, you actually made some better power. And it's definitely a better, easier to ride type of power as well. The bike itself got some other changes with brakes, smaller rotor in the rear, some of the stuff they've done to the four-strokes, different spoke patterns, even just all this kind of stuff they did that kind of improved the chassis. They gave it some of the four-stroke improvements that they've been doing for years that they've been ignoring the two-stroke on. So they did all those things to the two-stroke, and I feel like if a guy wants a simple bike, and this thing starts, even though it doesn't have electric start, kick-starting it starts the first kick. Once it's warm, I think it was every single time we tried to start it, it was always first kick. So it starts so well, easy to start. The Kickstarter, I'm short, very short, and I don't have any problem reaching up there and getting a good little kick on it, and starts right up. So I'm kind of leaning for a lot of guys, especially if you're cost conscious and you're looking at the long-term durability and cost of owning a bike. I think this YZ250 two-stroke can be a great bike for you, and it is faster. There's no doubt that wide open speeds, it is faster than the four-stroke. So that's the answer to that question for guys who are wondering, is it faster? Yeah, of course it's faster. Two strokes, same size, 250 versus 250, it is faster, a little quicker. A 250F, mine's modified, and it's still, I would say, faster, especially faster feeling than my stock bore modified ones. So that's something to keep in mind, is that it is going to be faster. Now, so who's the 250F better for? And that's going to be a kid who's racing, who needs to race in the kind of the premier, you know, intermediate or B class. That kid needs to be on a 250F because that's the main race classes. Unfortunately, there's not really good race classes for these 252 strokes. Now, a lot of places let 252 strokes race against 250Fs, and if you have that going on in your area, I think you'd be at a pretty good advantage on this 252 stroke. So, overall, am I going to go rush out and buy a 252 stroke? I don't plan on it, but we'll see. I want to spend some more time on this Yamaha and see. But I don't think you can go wrong with either bike. But I think that this newly updated YZ250 has me a lot more interested in 252 strokes on the track, where I wouldn't have been before. Now that this thing has some really good updates, I would have liked that it, you know, maybe had a counterbalancer to lessen vibration. The vibration definitely doesn't feel as bad as it did on some of the older bikes I've ridden. So I don't know if they did anything there that actually improved it with crank balance or anything, but it does feel like it's less. It definitely is more than, say, a KTM or Gas Husky 250-300 motor that has a counterbalancer in it. So, you know, long motos, yeah, your hand, I think it's something you're going to get used to, but it wasn't terrible by any means. So, incredible bike, and I think what do you call it, pound per pound, or, you know, the YZ250 two-stroke is probably the winner for most guys who want to have the simplicity of a good, amazing bike at a fairly good price nowadays, compared to the, you know, $10,500, $11,000 out the door for a 450. So, and I haven't really mentioned that, but for most guys, this is a far better bike than any 450. I feel like most guys are going to be way safer on this than a 450. So, had a great time out here, as you can see, riding at Glen Helen. jumping and riding this thing is so much different after not doing it for 15 years or so on a track. I have ridden a 125 a little bit on the track, and that's helped a little bit, but it's nice to be back out here on this thing, and we had a great time. I definitely want to thank Yamaha and Rado for helping with the video, and David, our photo guy, and we had some great help. Adam Campbell and his group also helped as well, and Michael Rich at Yamaha. So thank you guys, and we'll check you out on track or trail soon.